Everything working. I swear, man, I spend like the entire day being not presentable. Then all of a sudden, in like the next 30 minutes, I gotta be presentable. Give me 1 second. Let me close this door here. I know like the fans are loud and I don't want it to affect the audio, so just be right back. There we go. That should be a little bit quieter there. And I know it refreshes the chat, which is kind of weird, but I think I got the chat to the point where I'm a little comfortable with it. I may have to do a few things, may like have to redo it or something like that just to make sure it's working. But the chat is kind of an iffy thing. I'm almost at the point now where I think I can start doing this 24/7. I think I have enough content where I can have it going at all times. But we'll see. We'll see how that works. But I think this will be the I think this will be the last one before I'll be able to do that. Now, of course, I'll still make more content on Wednesdays and Fridays and Mondays and stuff like that. It's just that I wanted to have it running 24/7. That way people can just go to the chat and just ask questions. So we'll see how that works. Alrighty, so let me make sure everything is right. Oh, let me do the whole tag thing. Give me 1 second here, you guys. 1 second, you guys. I gotta do the tag thing for some reason. I don't know why I always gotta do this tag thing, but I gotta do it. Actually, while I'm here, I guess I do have quite a bit Yeah, I got about 12 videos. Oh, look at me. I've done this for like a month. I'm so proud of myself. Okay, that's the longest I've ever done any kind of video. Video anything. I guess it's because I like the content and I like talking about it and I like helping people. So I guess it makes it a little bit easier for me to make these kind of videos. But let me go ahead and add those tags and we can get started. Okay. Forum. How you doing? How you be? Top to the AB. Got to do my intro. You know how it is. And I hope everybody had a good, what's today? Monday. Had a very short vacation. I hope everybody else did as well. But yeah, we'll go ahead and kick things off here with a few issues. Hopefully we can troubleshoot and help a lot of people. And then, you know, maybe talk about different things in tech and stuff like that. But we'll see. I probably may not have time for it because I know there's a lot of it's a lot of issues that happened over the weekend. I was trying to grab some, but we'll see how it goes. Hopefully there's some good ones and some bad ones, but you know, generally you want to take the good with the bad. Like I've run into people that kind of shy away from the tougher issues, but it's the tougher issues that tend to make you who you are when it comes to being able to troubleshoot important issues. So it doesn't really matter if it's the technical field or the sales field, it's the support field. You know, it's just that my genre happens to be tech, but just any support field, it helps you to take the harder cases and not shy away from them because it makes you a better support rep in the end. So I guess that's the best way to put that without saying tech or engineer or anything like that. All right, so let's go ahead and get to this here. All right, at least that still works. Okay, cool. Yeah, and it does refresh it. Okay, let me check the chat. Let me make sure that's cool. And we will get started. I hate just typing like chat instead of test. That way I know that it's working. Okay, cool. Alrighty, so the first one we got here is do I have to be worried about this? By Blue Screen of Death from Diggity, no doubt. I was just playing my game on my laptop when I got a blue screen, but instead of it blue, it was purple and yellow. I normally never get blue screen, so do I need to be worried here, or am I just fine? Thanks for reading this. See ya. Okay, so this person here got a blue screen of death, but instead of it being blue, it was purple and yellow. Purple and yellow. If it wasn't able to actually show the blue screen, it's a possibility that his drivers may have crashed on his graphics card. Typically, if your drivers crash on your graphics card, it's a possibility that the screen itself will actually lose its display, especially if it was 4K. Then it's a possibility that it may not have been able to display the blue because it didn't have the drivers anymore. So I'm guessing your crash may have happened because of drivers. I would suggest to go ahead and update the drivers of your graphics card to see if that helps with the issue. You can also go to the event viewer and then do a search. Well, actually, no, you won't even need to do a search for this one. It would actually just be going to event viewer and then hardware. And then once you're in the hardware, you should be able to see what kind of error it crashed with and then be able to look up that particular error. If I had to guess, I would say it's probably graphics related because that's the only thing that can make your screen go to a different color. If it lost the driver to its graphics card, therefore it wasn't able to display the input that it was originally supposed to have. A lot of times whenever you see it go blue screen though, it should just stay blue. But the fact that it went purple though, that's an interesting one. So the only thing I can really think of is it being graphics. Generally, if it's anything else, it would just be a blue screen of death. So that's what I would think. I don't even think there's another way around that, guy. I think it's just straight graphics. Alrighty, that's a good warm up. All right, let me go to this one. Okay, cool. I went in the wrong order, so let me fix this real quick. Do that and do that. Okay, cool. This is from Stinky Monkey. I'm liking these names. They're not as perverse as some of these other ones I've been seeing. All right, from Mr. Stanky. Roommate's PC has faster internet. We just moved into a new place. It is just him and I. When we set up our internet and both our PCs using a wire connection, he was getting about 530 megabits per second download, and I was only receiving about 300 megabits per second. We have the same network adapter settings and our drivers are up to date. I tried swapping out Ethernet cords, resetting network adapter settings to default, etc. Any advice on how I can get my speed to match his? Well, to a new place. And I'm guessing Stinky Monkey, Well, okay. So he's getting 530 megabits per second download, and both their PCs are wired. Well, okay. So there's a couple ways to play this, right? So because they're wired, you leave very little to chance. Now, when you say adapter, I'm guessing she's talking about her network adapter. We have the same network adapter settings and our drivers are up to date. Okay, so that means that they have the same network adapter settings, but it doesn't necessarily mean they have the same network adapter. I'm guessing they have different PCs or different laptops. It's a possibility that the issue could be the cable, but it sounds like they've already swapped it. Yeah, they swapped the Ethernet cords, resetting network adapter settings, default, any advice. Yeah, I do. I have a couple. So in this particular situation, the easiest way to troubleshoot it is to swap PCs. So basically, you hook up to his and he hooks up to yours, and see who gets the right speed. So if you hook up to his and you get 500-ish, and he hooks up to yours and he gets 300-ish, then that means that the router that you're using is taking priority to the first slot. So basically, originally, so back in the day, hear me going old school again. I remember when when Ethernet over power adapters first came out, and I think I was just starting networking, so I'm guessing this was like maybe 10 years ago, 8 to 10 years ago. And the Ethernet over power adapter, when I first got it and when it first came out, they used to have Ethernet over power adapter in one side, and whenever you needed it to go to more than one device, they used to give you a hub. And if you looked on the hub, it would actually show the priority. So like it would be green and then light green and then super light and then like red. So in other words, if you plugged in 4, then it would be a bad connection and it'll be red. And if you plugged in 1 or 2, then it should be able to work relatively easily without actually bumping into each other and stuff like that. We've gone way past that as far as technology goes. However, it sounds like there may be some precedence that, or some priority that's being applied to the first interface that may not be applied to the second interface. But if it's not, and you hook up your computer to his and you still get 300 and he still gets 500, it's you. It's you. That's how you would troubleshoot that. Your network adapter is not updated enough to handle the speed, more than likely. Or maybe it's going out or having issues. I apologize for that. I should thought I muted this. Or maybe it's having issues, things of that nature. Now, it doesn't really sound like it's a bad network adapter, because I mean, it does give you 300 megabits per second, but if it's not getting you 500 and you swap it and you still are not getting 500, then it's a possibility that you may just need to swap. And it's not even an expensive swap. I would just, swap your locations and see if you fix the issue. And if you don't, and you still have the problem, then all you would have to do is just buy a USB to Ethernet and see if that resolves your issue. I mean, they're super cheap. They're probably under $10. If they're white, then probably 20. And I don't mean that as some reason. The lighter products, when it comes to like Netgear adapters and Ethernet adapters, tend to be more. So like, for example, the white ones, it may have been caused by like white PlayStations and devices and consoles and stuff like that. Whenever there was a white network adapter, you thought that it went to those devices. Kind of like when nowadays with Apple, it's silver. So whenever you see like a silver docking station, you immediately think that it's for Apple. They used to do that with network adapters, and then the lighter the color, the more it costs, even though they may have done the same thing. So I'm not sure if they still do that anymore, but yeah, very, very old school of me. But that's essentially what happened. So like the lighter colors, but it doesn't really matter. Just a USB to Ethernet adapter should be more than enough. Don't worry about the color. Hopefully it shouldn't change the price no more than a couple dollars anyway. But if you want white or silver, then it probably may cost you a little bit more because Apple. We're gonna blame everything on Apple instead of racism. Color racism based on Ethernet over power adapters. All right, let's go ahead and go to the next one. Alrighty, phone remotely hacked, need help. Alrighty, this is from the bartender 123. Okay, so he was thinking it's something like malware. Hi guys, I bought a new phone a month ago, and yesterday when I was on the phone with my friends, I noticed someone had posted a video of mine as a reel on Instagram and posted a story on my Instagram account. I immediately changed passwords. Then I noticed that the layout of my keyboard was changed, as well as all the widgets that went from blue to red. I checked the gallery and noticed there was screenshots the hacker left to let me know what he had access to: camera, my notes, Samsung wallet, contacts, and also sent texts on WhatsApp. The point is, how the hell they got into my phone? I clicked nothing, installed no app. I'm trying to figure out how they access my phone and if this device can be trusted. For now, I did a hard reset and covered cameras. Okay, well, he did do a hard reset, so he went back to default settings. So I'm guessing they had how they get into your phone. Well, ideally, there may have been some type of an application that gave him access, because it's kind of hard to get access to a phone just willy-nilly. You would have to know something about that phone. Well, you don't have to. It's easier if you knew something about the phone. So, for example, if you may have downloaded an application or you may have downloaded a site. Now, here's the thing here. He does not mention what kind of phone he has, but I'm guessing it's not Apple, because Apple, they have to, you have to verify with Apple before you can post to the store. I'm wondering if he had issues. Well, it doesn't really matter if he did or he didn't. He already wiped the situation. Okay, here's my thing. All right, I get the problem and I get the issue he was having, but he wiped it, so nobody can troubleshoot. It makes it a little bit difficult. So in this kind of a situation, once you realize what happened, what I would do is I'd start taking screenshots of all of his applications, and then I'd wipe it. Okay, so at least you have an idea of somewhere to go, because what you don't want to have happen is that you wipe it and you think everything is fine, and then you go and try to re-download your applications, and one of the applications is what caused it. You see what I'm saying? So you don't want to put yourself in a position where you can be left open and be hit again for the exact same situation because you downloaded some application or you went to some kind of a site. So in this particular situation here, you did wipe it, so you may not have any data in order to figure out exactly what app. Now, you did, of course, say I installed no app. I'm trying to figure out how they access my phone. But typically, people get access to phones through apps or websites that allow you to kind of remote into phones in order to get access to them. Now, it's a possibility that you could have left your phone out, or you may have a girlfriend or somebody that you're dating, or a boyfriend and somebody that you're dating that may have gotten access to your phone and attempted to hack you. So that's also a possibility. That's probably more prevalent than an application. So I would look at the people around me and see if anyone may have had access to your phone, or anybody who knows you. In other words, they know you well enough to figure out the password on your phone. So I would try to look maybe in those directions, because you don't really have a sense of direction with this particular situation because you already wiped everything. Now, those are the two that I would think of. I would think some type of an application, or you may go into some type of a website that allowed remote access to your phone, or a loved one or a friend or a girlfriend or boyfriend or other, whatever, that may have had access or known you and may have gotten access to your phone. So those are the main things that I would think of that would actually cause someone to get access. It's also a possibility that they could have gotten access to your phone. Well, I'm thinking about that, because you said camera, your notes, wallet, contacts. Notes, wallets, and contacts are backed up to the cloud. Camera is not. So by camera, he may mean photos, and if he may mean photos, then that person may have just gotten access to your Samsung cloud account. And if that's the case, you may need to change your password. So I would also do that as well, and strongly suggest that actually is a really good idea. So on that, in this particular situation here, I would say, because the things that you mentioned are all things that get backed up to the cloud, I would go ahead and change my password to my Samsung cloud account to something that is longer and random. There's are plenty of tools that actually do password generators. Basically, they generate random characters for your password, and you know, I would make it, you know, 12 to 14 characters or something difficult, and then copy it to a file, or not necessarily copy to a file, copy it to a program that allows you to store your passwords in a file that's encrypted, and you can actually just click on the password and it'll paste it in for you, so you don't have to remember it, obviously, because you couldn't. So yeah, I would actually say that's probably a higher probability than all of these, is that somebody may have gotten access to your Samsung Cloud account, and you wiping your phone does nothing, because they may still have access to it, and you know, and they may have gotten in through something like that. So that's what I would say on this one here. I would say Samsung Cloud account, reset passwords. You've already reset your phone. However, I would check applications and websites that I've gone to, and see, you know, if somebody may have downloaded something, or you may have gone somewhere, and then family members, friends, loved ones, things of that nature. So that's the hierarchy I would handle this particular situation in. And you have a bunch of comments, so I'm guessing there are plenty of people who may have came up with similar ideas. Alrighty, the bartender, I hope that helps, bro. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and go to the next one. How to connect a GPU to a PSU. Okay, well, that is just a 6 or 8 pin going into the power option, the GPU option that is on your power supply. I'm currently trying to put a GPU in my PC. I was able to install it fine enough. When I tried using it, the following error occurred. Please power down and connect the PCIe. Absolutely. You get that error when you power it on and there's no power cables going into it. I assume this is because I don't have my GPU connected to my power supply. Absolutely correct. I don't know how to do this, and I don't know what connector I would need. I see where I could insert a cable to the GPU, but I don't see anything like that on the power supply. I'm assuming the power supply is the silver box below the GPU. Yes. Silver box? Yes. Silver box below the GPU. My GPU is an NVIDIA 1660 Super. My PC is an Inspiron 3891. I've never done anything like this before, so please help. Alrighty, so I can already answer your question just from what you've told me. So he has an Inspiron, which sounds like he has a mid-tower PC, which means that his power supply is located on the bottom. And typically when you buy chassis like this, the power supply will come with like the extra cables rubber banded and underneath, like in a shroud somewhere where you can't see it. So I'm guessing the GPU cable that you need is located near the power supply, kind of bundled up. So all you would need to do, and particularly in this situation here, is to find a cable that's going into your power supply whose end is an 8-pin. I'm guessing this guy uses an 8-pin. It's a 1660, so it could use a 6-pin. I think I have a couple that use 6 pins actually, but it's a super, so probably an 8-pin or a 6+2. So basically, there are going to be pins, right, on the ends of the cables of the power supply. Okay, there is going to be one that is 8, and then there's going to be one that is 6+2. Okay, the one that is 8 actually goes into the header of the motherboard. You probably won't see that because it's already in it. The one that's 6+2 is the one that you want. You want to plug that guy, and if you need 2, you may have to grab 2 and plug that guy into the graphics card in order for it to actually power on properly and see the graphics card. It's how you would troubleshoot this issue. So it's going to be a 6+2, so it's going to be 6 cables with 2 hanging off the side, and you have to kind of link them up in order for them to fit in the slot. Alrighty, and I'm sure people have pictures and everything to show them how to do that. So that's how you would handle that particular situation. Alrighty, here, let's go ahead and go to the next one. What is going on? How to connect my GPU to my PSU? Oh, did I click on the wrong one? Feel like I did. What happened? Something happened. There we go. That was weird. Okay, I'm sorry about that. What y'all didn't see anything, but what I saw is it kind of went away for a second. I thought I was going to be the one with the blue screen of death. All right, so let's go ahead and go to the next one here. Alrighty, so this is from Kyle Pot Togi 798. Mr. Kyle writes, half of RAM is hardware reserved. Hi guys, when my AMD PC got repaired because of hard drive failure, I noticed my PC was slower than normal. I checked my RAM and only half of it is useful. I checked Task Manager on the performance. It shows that half of it is reserved for hardware. Back then, this wasn't the case. I tried updating Windows, system boot configurations, etc., but none of them worked. Anyone have a solution? Well, you said hard drive failure, so I'm wondering if they replaced it, and if they replaced it with a big enough hard drive. Because what it sounds like is you basically overutilized your hard drive, so it swapped to memory. So Linux. Okay, well, Linux has this option, and Windows, I'm not sure if it has this option. Generally, it just lets you know that you kind of gone over 100%. But Linux has this option that it will utilize RAM whenever you're out of hard drive space. But of course, you know, RAM is a little bit more limited, but it's closer to the CPU. Well, okay, it's the reverse. If you utilize RAM, it can go to your hard drive, but your hard drive is further away from your CPU, therefore it's slower. But in this particular situation, your hard drive was a failure, so it got replaced, and I'm guessing it also got cloned, and now you're having memory issues. So no, that wouldn't apply here. So it says hardware. It says it's reserved for hardware. Okay, so I'm guessing something may have happened with your settings as far as paging or something along those lines goes. Hardware. I wonder what kind of hardware, or I wonder. He doesn't mention exactly what kind of drive he replaced it with, so I'm guessing he may have replaced it with another hard drive or something along those lines. If that's the case, then try updating Windows system boot configurations, etc. None of them work, so it just automatically utilizes that RAM. Yeah, I'm not sure on this one. I'm trying to think of like what would be the best way to handle this kind of a situation, because if I don't have enough information, because it's like, okay, well, if it's saying hardware, it should say more than that. It'll say what it was. Like, for example, this right here, for example, is just saying that it's reserved. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it's gone. It just means that it's reserved for something else. So I wouldn't worry about it too much, because your Windows PC or Windows in general reserving RAM isn't necessarily a bad thing, because it's just going to utilize it whenever it needs to. But the fact that it's increased, it's kind of hard to get an idea of how much it had, or how little it had. But see, here's the thing: it sounds like you may not have had a lot of RAM either. Because here's the thing: he mentioned he had a hard drive. Okay, so that means that he probably has an older PC. So if he has an older PC, it's probably more likely that he may have 4 or 8 gigs of RAM, which means that your Windows device may be utilizing and hoarding some of the RAM to reserve it for Windows functions, and because of that, maybe that's what's slowing him down a little bit. So it could be that the hard drive he replaced it with is slower than the one that he had. He could have had a 7200 RPM hard drive and replaced it with a 5400 RPM hard drive, and Windows is now holding on to RAM or reserving some RAM and memory because it needs to, because the computer isn't as fast as it used to be. That's a possibility. I know it kind of gets a little murky there, because it's like, okay, I see where you're going, but it's still a hard drive and not RAM. It's not like he replaced his RAM. So for you to say that it's a possibility that it's utilizing more RAM because of a hard drive, or utilizing more hard drive because of a RAM because of something in Linux, just doesn't seem to hit. Now if this is Linux, then of course it hits home. But if it's not Linux, and it doesn't seem like it is, because yeah, he said I tried updating Windows, then no. But that's the first thing I would think. I would think that it's only reserving it because you don't have enough memory, and the two issues are not related. So I think it may just be kind of an issue on its own with more applications, or you may have added something different. Now, of course, if you say you never mention whether or not you've added something or installed something new, it could be that whatever you've installed may have utilized more memory, therefore Windows had to reserve some. But more than likely here, because it's hard drive failure replacement, even with a slower hard drive, it shouldn't take more memory. It shouldn't. It's a possibility, but it's very low. But it's kind of hard to say because I don't have enough specs. So everything is kind of conjecture at this point. So I would need to know a little bit more information about the device, how much memory you have, what hard drive you replaced it with, if the one that you had was 7200 RPM and the one you replaced it was 5400 RPM, things of that nature. But yeah, that's a tough one, man. I wish I had some more data to go on so I can hopefully put you in the right direction. Actually, you know what? Let's do something different. Let's actually click on this one. Let's see what people are saying. Okay. Let's see what they say. They said exactly what you said, sir. Take out the RAM, clean the contacts, and blow out any dust in the RAM slots. Reinstall the RAM and see if it resolves the issue. Okay. So try checking the BIOS. It was probably reset during your repair of your iGPU. Was set to take 4 gigabytes of RAM as VRAM. Just search how to change reserve video memory for your CPU on Google. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's a good one. That's actually a really good one. But yeah, thinking that it was RAM. But yeah, he's in the exact same ballpark as I am, where he's saying that the hard drive and the RAM issue isn't exactly related, but because you change hard drives and you may have cloned it over to the new hard drive, your BIOS itself is back to default settings, and if it's back to default settings, that is maybe utilizing more memory than it should. And he's thinking as if you don't have a graphics card, which okay, that's really smart. So thinking that you don't have a graphics card because you also are using a hard drive and you probably only have maybe 4 to 8 gigs of RAM, which means that Windows is probably utilizing some of your RAM because of the default settings. So you may have to, change how the video memory is being applied. So yeah, that's a good idea too. So yeah, this guy here, Jazz the fat lad, he's a smart cat. I give him that. Give you props, bro. That's a good one. All right, let's go ahead and go to the next one here. Alrighty, faulty PSU. Hello, my PC has been shutting down in the midst of gaming and then will boot randomly when pressing the power button. When it boots back on, I get a screen saying something about devices change or CMOS has been, your battery's dead. I had this issue a while ago, but after changing the CMOS battery, it seemingly fixed it. Right. It sounds like your battery's dead again. Now after 2 months I get the same issue. I changed the battery once again just in case, but now it won't boot back on at all. It sometimes powers on if I jiggle the USB cables. You have a short. So is this a sign my PSU is screwed? Chopped and screwed? I'm going to try the paperclip method and see what happens. Okay. Edit. It seems to have something to do with either the motherboard or the cable ports. If I push the USB cable in the back of the PCIO shield in with some force and hold them in, the PC boots up, but once I let go, it shuts down. Yeah, short. Tried unplugging RAM sticks one at a time without GPU, still nothing at all. Yeah, short. It looks like you may have a short with this particular situation, like your motherboard is actually having a short. So I'm curious to whether or not it powers on when you have no cables plugged into the USB ports. It could be that you have too many cables plugged into your USB ports. It is overutilizing the bandwidth, the power bandwidth of your US bus. USB, the B in USB stands for bus, and I know that sounded stupid, but it's a possibility that you're overutilizing the bus for power for your USB ports. Is one of the things, but that shouldn't actually stop it from turning on. It will just warn you whenever it came up. So in this particular situation here, I would try to remove all the USB ports and see if it powers on. If it does, then I would start plugging in the devices one at a time and see where the short is, because it may just be one of your USB ports and not all of your USB ports. And if it's only one of them, just don't use that port, is the cheap man's way of handling that particular issue. Like if you burn out a port, or if the port has a short and you think that it's the motherboard and there's no screw or anything like that that can short it, then you just not use that particular USB port, and more than likely it's probably two because they're connected. So basically, if you do have that issue, try not to use those two ports. That way you don't have to replace the motherboard right then and there. But yeah, it sounds like a motherboard short this time around because it's not the CMOS battery. And that's how I would handle this particular situation. So I'm not even gonna say that username. I was going to, and then I thought about it, and I will never do that. Be demonetized instantly. Alrighty, sir or ma'am, I hope that helps. Alright, so this is from SnackRightXD. I like that name. And SnackRight writes, third monitor artifacting. Okay, so he has 3 monitors. His third one is artifacting. This is on the RTX 3060 Ti. Love that card. Good card. One of the 3 monitors is artifacting. It is running through a display port to HDMI adapter. So I'm wondering if the adapter could cause this. Yes. That's pretty easy. So yeah. What I would do here in order to troubleshoot your issue, display to HDMI, which means that you want it to use the HDMI. So what I would do here in this particular situation is plug your monitor into one of the other ports on your device. So in this case here, you're obviously using display to HDMI, more than likely because you only have one HDMI port. So now I would say take the unplug whatever is into that HDMI. Oh, I'm sorry. Rephrase. Unplug from the back of the monitor that has the HDMI port. Unplug it and plug it into this monitor, and see if that will give you a picture, and it's no longer artifacting. Okay, and then take the display to HDMI cable and plug it into the other monitor and see if it starts to artifact. And if it does, then you have a bad cable, and you just take it from there. And yeah, that's pretty much it. There's not a whole lot more you can say about that one. I think that one's pretty straightforward. Just swap the cables, swap the monitors, things of that nature. Alrighty, here. Let me make sure I'm still in focus. I was having some fun. I don't know what is going on with my camera, man. Like, it doesn't keep track of where I set my focus point to, so I have to change it and make sure. If not, it's just gonna completely focus on my background, which is really weird, but whatever. This is from Cable Issues, AKK 4728. I have a ThinkPad X240 with a VGA going to a HP VGA to display adapter going into my ThinkVision monitor, and I can't get it to work. VGA to display is very, very complicated as far as the adapter is concerned. It's kind of harder to find too, because you're talking about a 720 to something that utilizes normally 1080 or higher. So it's kind of it's an interesting one. Like, it's hard to get. You don't see them too often. My ThinkVision monitor, okay, even when I put the laptop into a dock, it still won't work. Anyone know what's going on? Do I need a driver or something, or is it not compatible? More than likely it's not compatible with the way that you're currently having it set up, because VGA usually maxes out at somewhere around 720p at 30 frames per second, and some monitors can't even display 720p no more. This is why whenever I talk about people that are having issues with their PC not booting but they see lights, I tell them to essentially hook up an older monitor, because older monitors tend to accept 720p. Like, I used to have this monitor that I kept around, and I didn't even have the stand for it. I just had the little square old school monitors that you used to have, like at schools and stuff like that. I used to have one of those, and I used to always use that guy to troubleshoot. That had a VGA port and things, VGA port, because I can do like DVI to VGA and stuff like that. And I used to always use that guy to troubleshoot, because that guy can show 720p, whereas all my other monitors, like this big one right here that everybody can see in the side here, this guy that I just lost focus, okay, this guy here only does 4K, and it can actually, and it can also do 1080p, but it can't see anything less than 1080p at 60 frames per second or 30 frames per second. So if you have a 720p signal, it's not going to show it. So more than likely, you didn't actually list the actual serial number, or I'm sorry, serial number, model number of the ThinkPad monitor that you have, or ThinkVision monitor. But more than likely what may be happening is this monitor only supports 1080p 30 frames per second or higher, and this VGA to display adapter is at 720p. So yeah, that's how I would handle this particular situation. You could also try USB well, okay, you may not be able to, because there's a possibility that he doesn't have USB 3. So even recommending something like USB 3 to display may not actually work for him. But if you do have what's called a USB 3 port, which is usually a blue port, those guys can transmit at 5 gigabits per second. So you can actually just plug in a cable and hook it up directly to the monitor. So basically a USB 3 to display, and see if you can power it that way. It's a laptop, so it's not like he has a integrated GPU. It sounds like he may have well, it's not like he has a discrete GPU. He has internal graphics. In other words, everything is running off of his CPU. So because it is, then a USB is going to utilize the exact same thing. So if you do have a blue port for USB, I would go ahead and plug that into your monitor instead and see if that gives you a picture, because more than likely that would at least be 1080p. All right, cool. That's a good one. That's a really good one. AKK, hope that helps. All right, let's go to the next one here. Am I? Okay, I'm not going crazy. It really does do this for me. I have too many screens up, so it keeps showing like other stuff. Okay, sorry, it was work. All right, I think I'm on a good one. Okay, cool. Alrighty, so this is from your boy Anters, and your boy writes, iPhone messaging problems. All right, let me get ready. Okay, I think I'm ready. All right. English isn't my first language, so sorry for spelling errors. No problem at all. About 2 weeks ago, my iPhone 10 started to not send my messages. iMessages work, as it's the regular ones that won't send. Okay, so what he's saying is iMessages, whenever he sends to other iPhone devices, that works. But whenever he sends to non-iPhone devices, that does not work. I've had this happen before. And every time I tried to send a text, this red icon showed up along with the text failed to send. As I recently switched operators, I thought that the text service hadn't been transferred, so I checked with my new operator and they claimed that everything is working as intended. The problem is that there were no errors when using the operator from before I switched. But suddenly now there is a problem. I can make calls and have internet access. The only problem is texting. I've tried to Google my issue and not gotten a good answer or a solution, so I thought, hey, let's ask random strangers on the internet. Hey, that's what I do. Any ideas on how I can solve this or what the issue may be? Yes. So when I had this issue, because I've only seen it, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 times, and it's usually like whenever I was like texting somebody or dating or something like that, and the situation that I had was they could not see my messages, but iMessages worked no problem. And typically when that happened, I ended up having to in this situation I had to call myself. So I basically called my number on my phone and it went to voicemail, and that fixed it. But in this particular situation here, because what it was in my particular situation is that I could not receive, but I could send. In other words, I can call out, but I couldn't receive anything. And that made more sense, right? Because you couldn't receive anything, and calling yourself and you picking up made everything work, because you're receiving the call because you're calling yourself. So that was the only kind of weird issue. But because it's working with Samsung, it's not working with Samsung, but it is with iPhones, what I would do here is I would power down the device. Because it's an iPhone, you obviously can't remove the battery, but I would power down the device. I would remove the SIM card. I would blow in the socket that the SIM card is in, and then I would push it all the way back in and make sure that it's all the way in. It sounds as if there may be an issue with the SIM card, so that it's not working with non-iPhone devices, and then I would go that route. Now, when you power it back on and you try and you still have the issue, then the next thing I will look at is your Wi-Fi settings. There's a possibility that your device is on Wi-Fi, so it's replying to text via Wi-Fi. I would turn off your Wi-Fi to force it to use your phone settings and see if that fixes it as well. So there's a couple things you can do on that one, and those are the 2 that I would do to troubleshoot it. Now, third thing I would do is try to utilize a different app. There are plenty of apps that you can use for messaging. I would just use a different one and see if that resolves the issue. Now, if that resolves the issue, okay, then you need to clear the cache for the application you're using for messaging. Does that make sense? So settings, application, clear cache in this particular situation. So it'll be in your settings, and then you have to go into your apps. It'll be like absent or applications or whatever. And then once you go into your applications, you do a search for messaging. Click on it. It will not allow you to uninstall it, but it should allow you to clear. And you want to clear the cache settings on that particular application to see if that resolves the issue. But it sounds like it's going to be one of the three. So either the SIM card, Wi-Fi, or it would be the application. That's a good one. That was a good issue. I like that one. I like that one. Oh, that was fun. All right, cool. Let's go ahead and go to the... Okay. Okay, I don't know why that was weird. Okay. Orkin kind of got in the middle of our troubleshooting, but whatever. Identical second monitor not being detected. So let me scroll down here. The problem sounds familiar to me. My Asus monitor worked. Some interesting solution here. Okay, I was just trying to make sure that this question is a part of the question being asked, because okay, maybe it isn't. Identical second monitor not being detected. I think he didn't ask a question. I think somebody just replied. Okay. No, this isn't a question. Oh, I'm sorry about that. I just click it open. I didn't know for sure. Okay, so it says an identical second monitor is not being detected. So this is very similar to the issue that we just troubleshot a second ago, in which just swap the monitors, swap the cables. If you swap the cables and the monitor still doesn't have you a picture and they're identical, then there's a possibility that that port on that monitor is having a problem. You already know it's not the cable. Because it works on the other monitor. So what you would do in this particular situation, swap the cable, see exactly what happens, and take it from there. Now, if you swap it and everything is working, then the port that you tried to put it in may also have a problem, so then you would just work that issue in reverse. So you would just go to the graphics card, well, not necessarily go to the graphics card, but maybe use a different port, or try to update drivers. That one was quicker than I thought it was gonna be. I'm upset. Okay, another one like that. I don't know what's up with these, man. I'm sorry. These are different, man. They usually say a lot more. Okay, so Wi-Fi suddenly not working. This is going to be in that same realm when people call and be like, oh, hey, my internet's not working. Okay, well, the internet's a big place. What exactly are you referring to? Is can you get out to the internet? Is your DNS not working? Is your DHCP not working? Are you not getting an IP address? Like, what exactly is happening when your internet is not working? So you saying your Wi-Fi is not working is not telling anyone anything. It's hard for anyone to actually be able to help with that kind of a situation. So if the Wi-Fi is suddenly not working here, then what I would recommend is hooking up directly and seeing if that works. If that works and Wi-Fi is the only thing that's not working, then reboot your router. Okay. Now, if you plug it in directly and it's also not working, then you may have an issue with your internet service provider, in which case I would call your internet service provider to see if there's an outage in your area. And then you would take it from there. More than likely, you may still need to do a reload of your modem router combo, but that's how I would troubleshoot this particular issue. I would, if wired also fails, then you may have to call your internet service provider. But if they are the type of internet service provider that charges you, then you may just ask them if there's an outage in the area, and then go from there and just reboot the modem router or modem and router combo, whatever you have, and see if that resolves the issue. Well, even though it was blank, that was actually still a pretty good question. After I go on my rant about how I dislike those type of questions, I actually answer the question at all aspects. That's what you gotta do. You know, you can be mad when they start asking you silly questions, and it's not that the question itself is silly. It's just that there's not enough context for you to answer it properly. So it's very easy to get offended by the level of question because the question doesn't really give you enough information to go on. So when you have these kind of situations, you will run across them in your support life. I don't care if it's tech or non-tech. You kind of just want to breathe a little bit, because if not, you're going to get upset, because it's like, okay, well, man, you just insulted my intelligence, because it's like, okay, well, how do you expect me to fix your issue if you don't even tell me more about the problem? So in these kind of situations, you just kind of want to get them talking in order to actually understand exactly what's happening, because a lot of people just kind of sum it up to a summary instead of actually going into a synopsis. But it's the synopsis that we need in order to troubleshoot the situation. So do the best you can when somebody gives you a general summary, because they're probably just having a really, really bad day and you don't need to add to it. Alrighty. So let's go ahead and go to the next one here. Let me check the time. I'm sorry, you guys. It looks like I have a couple of dropped frames. Let me check on this real quick. Let me make sure my internet is okay. It's at 1%. It's not bad. KB. Yeah, it's not bad. I'll just continue because it's not actually increasing. It's just at 1743. So okay, I'll just leave it alone. I was like, okay, man, I thought it was that issue that we had that last time when my computer just gave up life, and that was wired too. That was crazy. Making sure everything's cool for work. Okay, cool. So checking clock. Okay, cool. It looks like we got time for the last three. All right, so this is from Crypto. We'll just go with Crypto. Crypto writes, laptop freezes randomly and games keep crashing. Let me make sure I got everything. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Okay. I've been having, I'm sorry, something, like I was reading and then it looked like something was on my nose. And so if there was, I apologize. I've been having problems with my Omen 15 2019 laptop for about a week now. First, there were random graphical glitches and freezes after booting up the PC, and I had to force shut it down each time. That problem has mostly gone away though. Second, I can't play any game without it crashing after a few minutes. I tried playing Valorant, Overwatch, and Dead by Daylight, and they all gave me the same error. Those all have different levels of graphics requirements, and they all gave me the same error, which said things like Unreal Engine is exiting due to D3D device being lost, error hung, or your rendering device has been lost. I have already tried the following: updated the GPU drivers, rolled back to a more stable version, and uninstalled via DDU and the standard method. That's excellent. DDU, for those of you at home, is display driver uninstaller. It basically uninstalls in safe mode so that it can uninstall every aspect of a driver. Downgraded from Windows 11 to 10. Okay. Underclocked / undervolted the GPU. That was smart. Modifying TDR values. That was also smart. And he still has the issue. So that sucks, man. It sounds like you may have some issues with your graphics card. Hopefully you still have warranty is with what it's starting to sound like here. And yeah, I could have guessed that one. So system information, he gives us system information, but what I caught is the hardware information stress test, firmware crash after 5 minutes of testing. I would have thought so. So in this particular situation here, I would say it's a possibility that your device is either A, overheating, or 2, going out. So it sounds like, I mean, it's an Omen 15. It's from 2019, so you probably have a discrete graphics card, and the discrete graphics card itself may be going out, or it's overheating, either or. It's kind of hard to say. So how I troubleshoot this one, the cheap man's way, is to basically check all my fans and make sure there's no dust that's preventing it from exhausting heat. If it's sitting on a table or on my lap, I would try to lift it up and try to get some better airflow going to it, or maybe put a fan under it. So my laptops, when I used to have this problem, I used to sit them on fans. So like you can buy from like we have what's called Micro Center, but there's basically a computer store. They used to have these trays that you can put your laptop on that have a fan in the middle that will blow air into the bottom of the fan. I would try one of those and try to see if you can cool it off or keep it cool and see if that actually fixes the issue, because if it does, then you have a heating issue. So, and on top of that, whatever you do get crashed, you can also touch it to see if it's warm to the touch. But of course, you did do options 3 and 4, the underclocking and undervolting and modifying the TDR, but it's a possibility that it's still overheating. So you can't dismiss that one. So I would say either overheating, or you have an issue with your graphics card, and thus you may have to put in an RMA for the device. Unfortunately, man, I wish I had better news, but yeah, those are the only two that you look like you're going to be hitting. Either it's overheating, or the device is going out. And by device, I mean the discrete GPU. And the only reason why I know that is because of all the stuff that he already did. Oh, I'm sorry. I was hearing something in the background. I was like, what is going on? Okay. So this is from Emily V. All right, so Emily writes, opened up my laptop for something. Now I can't game anymore without my laptop crashing. So I opened up my laptop to apply thermal paste to my CPU because my CPU was overheating at very low loads, 95 degrees Celsius at only 20% load. Jesus. But the fact that you added thermal paste to your CPU is actually pretty interesting. That means you took the whole thing apart. So it must be a laptop that is very, very, very user friendly. But the screws on the cooling system were too small, so I decided to close it back up until I can go to my grandpa's, because he had screwdrivers for those kind of screws. Now every time I boot up any game, it will be fine until the gameplay starts. For example, I was gonna start a new playthrough of Sekiro. Hey, hey, Mr. Turd Flinging Monkey, man. I don't know why you would want to do that. I don't know why you would want to put yourself through that much torture. As soon as I got to that fire god guy, you know, once the dude turns, as soon as I got to him, I was like, no, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to get to the end at this point. I can't take another boss. I can't take another monkey and his wife. I can't take another, you know, it's too much at this point. That's the only From Software game that I just had to stop. I just had to stop. Even Elden Ring I beat, but that one right there, I just got like to the end and beat like one boss, and I'm like, man, I'm not about to beat these last 3 bosses. It's just too much. Anyway, go off on a tangent after hearing Sekiro. And the first pre-rendered cutscene was fine, but when it started loading the in-game cutscene, the screen froze. Okay, I waited a very undemanding, game. Okay, it's weird because when I tried playing a very undemanding game like Bloons TD6, it also crashes, but when I boot my PC back up with Bloons, it works instantly. And with Sekiro, I had to wait for my laptop to cool down sometime, otherwise I was in an endless loop of crashing and rebooting. I think it has something to do with the CPU or GPU overheating. You are absolutely right. But I was a bit rough with the motherboard, so it may have something to do with that. Anyway, if anyone knows anything, it would be greatly appreciated because I want to be able to game without breaking my computer. Okay, I was making sure there was nothing below that, and there isn't. In this kind of a situation, I would recommend the exact same thing I recommended to the guy previously. Put your laptop on a fan and help it so it can blow air. It may be kind of one of those situations where you may want to. You've already opened it, so that means you've already violated your warranty more than likely, or you might not have any warranty on it. You may just need to put it under a fan so that it can help keep that guy cool. But the fact that it was running that at idle and it was already hitting 95 degrees, there's not a whole lot more you can do, man. Like you unless you want to like install your own heatsink or something, or a water block, or I mean, it just sounds like the CPU is not, either it's not getting contact with the cooler, and more than likely some type of a vapor chamber, so that it can heat passively. I struggle to recommend this kind of thing because it's a possibility that can conduct static electricity and you can lose your laptop. So there are ways to go about this, and I'm trying to think of the best way to say this to make sure that I don't say anything that would make him lose his laptop. If it was my laptop, I would remove the cover and put it someplace, like put it up someplace, and don't put anything on the bottom of the motherboard, but basically put it up someplace and maybe blow a fan under it to see if that will help. Now, of course, you're blowing a fan that doesn't have a filter onto components right out in the open, but typically your motherboard isn't going to be right there. When you open the back of a laptop, typically it's just the vapor chambers, like the copper heat pipes going on the back of it, and you can try to cool it off that way. It may be one of those situations where you literally need to take the back off to keep it cool, because it sounds like you've already tried to remove the thermal paste and reapply it, and you're still having an issue with overheating. And if it's so, then you already have contact more than likely. It's just that the heat pipes aren't able to dissipate the heat quick enough. So the best way to do that is to open it up. Now, I would try to open it up and see if that resolves it, but you got to be very, very careful with that, because I don't want you to do anything that would damage your laptop. But in this kind of a situation here, what most people would say is RMA. And try to see if they can fix your CPU. But because you did it yourself, that makes me think that you don't have the ability to RMA. So that's how I would troubleshoot this issue. I would remove the back and see if I can cool it off. or try to get a fan that I can sit it on to try to keep it cool. But of course, let it not be a metal fan, but maybe like a plastic or a hard or a wood. If you can find a wooden platform, that would also work as well. Just anything that can conduct any type of electricity would be a good way of going about it, to try to see if you can cool it off. You're already on your last leg, so me suggesting that isn't a bad thing. Like, I don't want to do anything to make him lose his laptop, but at the same time, his laptop is already on his last leg, so it's okay for me to recommend something like that, because he doesn't really have a whole lot of options. If your device is overheating at idle, you know, or if it's overheating, you know, just on a basic game, and it's not allowing him to do what he wants to do with his laptop, then he doesn't really have a whole lot more to go. Now, you can try to look online to see if there's a possibility of you replacing some of the components of your laptop, because it sounds super easy to get into. So I would try to look online to see if maybe you can replace it. Maybe there's an issue, maybe the heat pipes are cracked or something along those lines, or maybe it's not getting contact, maybe the CPU is bad. It's hard to say, but the fact that it's overheating like that just means, and you've already replaced the thermal paste, just means that the contact points are fine, but the heat is not dissipating from the back of the laptop properly. So opening it up would just be the way you would troubleshoot that. But just be very, very careful. Maybe also use anti-static gloves. But you already know this because you've opened it up before. Now, had this person not opened up his computer before and replaced the thermal paste, I just say RMA. I would never, ever tell him to start opening things up and start looking at stuff if he's never done it before. But because he's already replaced the thermal paste, I'm going to give him a thermal paste type answer. I would say put it under a fan, remove the back, and see what happens. I think that's fair. That's fair. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't being kind of like leading him down the wrong path, and I don't think so. All right, it's already 9, but let's go ahead and get this last one in here, and then we'll call it. Yeah, it's not even long. All right, this is from Pro Cat Food. PC black screens when I turn it on. Okay. Hi everyone, hope you're all doing well and maybe be able to offer me some advice on my problem here. I was recently installing new drivers on my GPU, Radeon RX 6600 XT, and my PC needed a restart, but when I restarted my PC, there was nothing showing up on my monitor. Okay, let me just repeat that. I was recently installing new drivers to my GPU, Radeon 6600 XT, and my PC needed a restart, but when I restarted my PC, there was nothing showing up on the monitor. Radeon cards are very, very, what's the word? Sensitive. And I've had this happen plenty of times where it not display a picture after an upgrade. Several times. I tried checking all connections after no success. I swapped it in with my old GPU and was able to see my desktop on my monitor. So I've narrowed it down to my GPU, but I'm not sure how to fix it. I love it. Any and all help you all have to offer. Display driver on installer like that other person. So basically I would just run DDU and uninstall the Radeon graphics altogether and install the older version, see if that works, and then if it does, then you can try the upgrade again. But if it doesn't, well, if it doesn't, then that's really bad. That sounds like it might be a graphics card issue. But if it does, then you're good to go. But yeah, with this kind of a situation here, I would try to uninstall all the drivers and then reinstall the newest version, just flat out new install instead of an upgrade, and see if that resolves it. So my troubleshooting steps would be uninstall all the drivers using DDU, display driver on installer. You could just Google it, just Google DDU, and it'll have the instructions as well. So basically uninstall all the Radeon drivers and install the most up-to-date driver. If the end goal was get to the up-to-date driver, then just install that. Now, if the end goal was just to get your graphics card working, then I would just put it back on the previous version. Okay, I think that's pretty good. I haven't had that issue with the 6600 XT, and I don't have that particular card, but I have a 6900 XT, and I haven't had a problem with my drivers lately. So it doesn't sound like it may be a bug with the driver itself. It sounds more like it's an issue with the upgrade path, or like the upgrade or the device or the PC in this case. So yeah, I would just handle it that way. I would just wipe everything, as in the Radeon drivers, and then reinstall the newest version of the Radeon driver. If that doesn't work, reinstall your original version, the stable version, the one that worked, and just don't worry about the upgrade. Alrighty, there we go here. And yeah, we're at 1%. Okay, well, that's good information. I may have to stop things. Okay, well, that's good information. That's good things to know. So I hope this helps. And this one didn't even have any replies, so I hope that definitely helped. And that's gonna do it for today's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. And if you like this video, go ahead and like button. If you really like it, go ahead and subscribe. I love you either way. Take care. All the best, and bye.